I said I was going to do a little critter video for you, and so that's what I'm going to do now. I spent most of the morning doing a lot of the general maintenance on everything. Um, You'd be surprised, with all of these little guys and all the food and all the things you have to take care of and all that. Um, there's there's a interesting process of having to take care of each step of that stuff. So, one thing is making sure all the crickets are healthy and alive, and then making sure that every enclosure is clean, and that everybody's happy. So it's not just taking care of the actual amphibians and reptiles and fish. It's actually taking care of all the things they eat. And that was a challenge at first because I didn't like. I guess I'll walk around a little bit. I didn't like the crickets because if they die, they smell really, really bad. This is actually Reggie's home, the snake, and it's in shed right now. So, and as you'll know, I have them all on display now. I don't have them in the closet anymore. I kind of figured out a way that I could have them, as you can see, kind of how it works within the home, where there can be little environments kind of strewn around the house, and I think it actually looks okay, at least to me. I'm hoping that other people would find the same, but I kind of like these little enclaves where I have some kind of little nature and things set up. So in here we've got the black and gray corn snake. I don't know what side it's on. It's not on that side. So that would mean that it's got to be under the water dish. And well, it's a little stuck inside there right now, so we're just going to let it rest back there. But it spends a lot of time actually under that water dish, more so inside than inside the larger enclosure. So make sure everything is put back here. And then as far as Reggie is concerned, like I said, it's in shed. So what you're going to notice, I'm going to move the light a little bit more. It's very, very pale. You can see her there. She's very pale. She's, I thought for sure she was going to shed last night, but she didn't. And so I'm hoping tonight she will. This is feeding day but I don't know whether I'm going to take her out. They're generally kind of agitated when they're in the shed. It doesn't mean it's going to bite me. And if it did, there's really nothing to it. I've never been bit by her, but it basically, they have really no teeth. It would be probably like a very fine sandpaper, if anything, and so there isn't any issue about being bit or bitten. But that's something I'm hoping that'll shed. Maybe after I feed it, it'll shed because it'll be a little bit bulkier and the skin will loosen up a bit. Down here is where that mouse is that I got when Reggie disappeared. And I didn't intend on having a mouse, but I bought it, and now I got to take care of it. So actually, I kind of like it. It's not a big deal to take care of. The thing is, it runs on that wheel though like crazy all night long. I don't know exactly how many miles it runs on it, but I can kind of hear it when I'm sleeping, and I would imagine it's got to be doing a couple miles at least, because it can go for 3 or 4 hours just going on. Now, it doesn't keep me awake. Everything else does, but anyways, it's actually not a bad little mouse. It's inside its home right now and just kind of hiding out. Its home is an oatmeal top, and so over here I just have, this is kind of the first aquarium that I ever purchased, and just have the crayfish, and it's doing pretty good. It's kind of just, right now it's just kind of hanging out. I think usually it stays on top of this leaf right here and waits for a fish to come by, but it hasn't been very successful, so I threw some green beans in there. Hopefully it'll eat those. Every once in a while I throw a little tilapia in there or something like that. Whatever leftover I might have, salmon and stuff like that. It loves that stuff. So, kind of moving on. There's nothing in here. This is just try to keep this area as kind of pet free as possible, I guess you could say. But at some point, what you're looking at down there will probably become the Oscars aquarium, which I'll show you in a second. But I'm thinking about building a gas strut lid enclosure that will, the bottom portion of it there will be the aquarium, because I'm having one custom made right now that's about the size of a coffee table or a component stand table. And I'm thinking the bottom portion, it'll be framed in wood, and then it'll be low, and the bottom portion will be the aquarium, which will be 50 inches long by 18 inches high by 18 wide, and which is about kind of the distance you're seeing right now with the computer and all that set up, but that will be removed. And that's what I'm thinking might be its place. I have to be real creative about where I put all this stuff. So right now I have the big aquarium. It's full of algae at the moment. I've cleaned the glass and all that, but this morning I went and got more of these little guys, because what they'll do is they'll eat all that green stuff, all the green algae. And the snails that I did have in here did a pretty good job for a while. That you could see they actually cleaned half of that rock, but I only had about 4, and so I went and bought 6 more. And so we're going to see if that handles, but actually the algae can be kind of beautiful in some respects, but and it's actually very healthy for the aquarium, because it does turn a lot of the ammonia into the right, I think it's nitrates that you want it to become ultimately, or nitrite. But right now I don't have really, my water tests that I do a couple times a week, I've shown 0 parts per million of ammonia, which ammonia is the thing that really hurts fish. So they seem to all be doing really well. I've got a lot of schooling fish in here. And then I've got also the angels, which are really aggressive and kind of very interesting to watch. They've been breeding, but all the eggs have been infertile, or the male isn't quite ready to, or isn't potent enough yet to actually fertilize the eggs. So when they do lay the eggs, they generally turn white, which means they're not going to become wrigglers, which wrigglers would be just is when before it becomes a fry and actually swims around, it kind of wiggles on the egg and eats the egg for a while. And and then after they've hatched and become fry, that's when I have to start hatching brine shrimp, and I'd have to start feeding them brine shrimp, which, so more than likely, because this is a community tank, you just let nature take its course, and the fish will take care of the eggs, and when I say take care of them, they'll eat the eggs. And most of the time, the parents are the ones that eat the eggs. Kind of odd, but that's just the way they are. Angelfish are not as angel-like as people might think. They're actually very, very aggressive. But they've left the other fish alone. I very rarely have a fish die in here, so it's been, I think it's a real healthy tank, and I definitely work every day to do what I need to do to make it healthy, and that's been a process that I actually really enjoy, because this is the Oscar I was telling you about, and this is my favorite fish, and this one has doubled in size since I got it. This tank will not support it for long, so it's going to be very critical that this guy gets my tank done this week. This one will double in size again, probably within the next month and a half to 2. It'll become 12 inches long when it's full in about a year. And right now it eats just pellets, little cichlid pellets, and I feed it little baby cockroaches sometimes from a colony that I had created down at the warehouse. And crickets. I toss it. I go through my cricket container every once in a while. The ones that are kind of moving slow, I will drop into the aquarium here and let the Oscar have them, and it definitely loves them. So, and it's actually, that's what they're supposed to be eating is insects. So that's the Oscar. And then now I've also got what they call white tree frogs, or dumpling frogs. And this one I did some maintenance on today. You can see one right there. This is one of the fatter ones. And during the day they sleep, and they just usually go up into a little corner like this little guy, and they just suck themselves to the glass, and that's it, you know. So this is their little enclosure area. And I decided to put in a substrate today. I probably will go back to this. And there's another one right there. There's 3 of them all together in here. I'll probably go back to doing just brown paper towels. It's the non-bleach type. It's a lot easier to deal with and all that, but I had some of this substrate left, so I decided to use it for now and see if I can manage it as easy as I did the paper towel. I would prefer it be natural like it is now, but you know, we'll see how that works out. Then there's one more. So as you can see, the closet's empty. I just have to clean all this and organize it all and throw out stuff. But there is one thing in here, and that is the crested gecko. And you can see her. It's a female right there. And this enclosure is one that I like the look of and the shape and all that, but I don't know whether or not it's going to be ideal for it in the long run. And the reason it's in the closet is I don't have a place for it really, and it actually prefers this kind of environment. They're nocturnal. This light just basically kind of creates the day-night cycle, and it seems to be working because it does go dormant during the day and sleeps. And then at night it'll end up cruising around, and it just eats this this little paste stuff called Repechie, and it's just a powder water mix. And seems to, last night it didn't eat it, but I threw in a bunch of crickets. About once or twice a week you can feed it crickets, and maybe it decided to get those. I'll chase those around all night. But anyhow, there's only one more, obviously, the star of the house that I'll show you. But these guys are, like I said, just hanging out, and they did croak for the first time this morning at around 6:15, and I have to admit it was really loud. Which means I have a male in here somewhere. The females don't do that, but the males do, and so we'll see how that goes. Even these guys may be back in the closet before they know it. I used to have them stacked right here, one set up here and then this set up here. And but at some point, this whole area might become organized, and maybe a lot of this stuff will go back in here, or this might end up being one large enclosure for something. Who knows, you know? But I don't want to go too overboard. You know, obviously at some point you kind of have to check yourself. But here is Regina, and I just put in the new substrate today. This is it's actually coconut, walnut shells that have been finely crushed. And it's okay to have this kind of substrate for an adult. It's not something you should do with a juvenile bearded dragon, but I used to have in here just a mat, like a carpet mat, and then some Spanish tile that I had, and that's generally what people will do. But this substrate, this you can see what it's doing right now. It was digging. I think it thinks that it can dig in and get out and go into that, you know, scenery in the background, because I have watched it on occasion try to jump to the mountains there, and it's fallen off, and so it's not the brightest. She's not the brightest thing in the world, but I love her. You know, she's certainly changed my life in a lot of different ways. So I'll take care of her as long as she's around. She's pretty much stuck with me. But what's good right now is what she's doing some digging, and sometimes that means they're gravid, but I checked the belly the other day and I didn't really feel any eggs, but this could be, it's a little too early, I think, for her to be gravid. But what I like about this is that she's doing something a little more natural, where she wasn't doing this earlier today when I had the carpet in there. So I'm going to keep this substrate going, and then the other good thing is I'm going to buy a little bowl that's very slippery, and then I can put the food in there and it won't crawl around all over the place like it was doing, and then she can go into the bowl and get the food. But right now she doesn't eat that much, so she's kind of in a brumation stage, but I think she's getting out of it because she certainly is getting more active. So anyways, that's everything. This is the new shower and all that. I think it turned out pretty great. And yeah, I just wanted to do that. I love you, and I'm glad that you're out having a good time. You sure stay up later than I do. You guys are, yeah, as far as I can tell, I'm not really, I'm usually pretty asleep at around 11. So I'm glad to see you guys out and having a good time. And anyways, I just thought I'd show you what's going on around here. That's pretty much what's going on. So once again, I love you, and I hope you guys are having a good Sunday. And I guess I'm gonna get back to taking care of things here. So I'll see you later. Bye.